Morning everybody, welcome to Monday. Did you have a nice weekend? Hope so. Where are we now? We're in our last week of school before the Easter holidays. We've got an issue coming out on the 1st of April. After that we hope it's all going to be back to normal regarding getting sardines published. And that's what we're going to do today. Unashamedly, we're going to bring you a bit of a push for the digital issue of Sardines. As you know, our April-May issue is going to be a digital-only version. The last one, we hope, so we've done August, done December, we've done February and April, so that's 4 versions we've brought out online since lockdown kicked in. And what we're going to do, I've just received a brilliant article on a performer, musical theatre performer. In fact, it's quite musical theatre orientated at the moment. We noticed that that's where a lot of the big push is going towards musical theatre. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And it's going into this next issue. This is an interview that's just been done with Aimie Atkinson by Nikki Sweetland, and it's brilliant. Aimie, as you may or may not know, came through with the fantastic production that came from nothing, a bit like everybody's talking about Jamie. It was Six the Musical, about the queens of Henry VIII, the wives of Henry VIII, but done in a very modern way. And Aimie played Catherine Howard from the very start, and she also proved her credentials after Six by going in and playing the lead, Vivian, the Julia Roberts part of Pretty Woman, in the musical when it opened in the West End, infamously just 1 month before lockdown started. So that was a bit of a tragedy for Aimie, but we'll put loads of pictures up, by the way, so you'll see who I'm talking about, and I'm sure you recognise her. But yeah, Nikki's done this fantastic interview and really charted her rise to fame, because she used to perform with amateur theatre. Can you believe? And it's no surprise, untrained amateur theatre could happen to anyone if you've got the talent, if you've got the burn inside you. So I'm just going to read this. I'll go quite quickly, and I've missed a few bits out, but this is the bare bones of the interview. Aimie Atkinson has become one of the most well-known names in British musical theatre over the last few years, after originating the role of Catherine Howard in the smash hit musical Six, and then going on to lead the cast of the West End production of Pretty Woman. But Amy's journey to the top is, many ways, quite an unconventional tale. Interesting. Aimie grew up in Stevenage, north of London, and her first taste of musical theatre came in the form of a gift from her grandmother. And Aimie says, when I was about 13, my nan got me the DVD of Hey Mr. Producer, which was a concert celebrating the work of Cameron Mackintosh. And I remember watching Leah Salonga and Ruthie Henschel and just being in awe. I remember going to my bedroom and trying to sing On My Own from Les Mis and realising I could actually sing it, she explains. Describing herself as a nervous child, the young Aimie wasn't initially forthcoming in sharing her newfound ability, even with her family. And she says again, I'd go down to the bottom of my garden after school when my mum and dad were out and just belt out Les Miserables. One day, my next door neighbours heard me singing and told my dad. He then booked a recording studio as a birthday present, and I sang On My Own in it. That was really where it all started, I guess. How interesting. But then it says Aimie went on to join her local youth theatre group after a recommendation from a friend, and it really ignited her passion to perform. We put on shows in the Gordon Craig Theatre in Stevenage, and I think that was the big changing point, because I met people like me and I gradually got more confident. After ensemble roles in musical including Whistle Down the Wind, The Children of Eden, Aimie was cast as Maria in West Side Story, and this became a defining moment in the young performer's life. She says, I felt like I'd worked up to playing it for years. I was obsessed. I'm still obsessed with West Side Story, so getting to play Maria changed my life. It made me realise that a career in performing was something that I wanted to pursue. And how many people tell us that they got the acting bug, they caught the bug through amateur theatre. The start of a promising career beckoned, and Aimie took classes at a theatre school in Barnet, North London, while earning a bit of money teaching the next generation of theatre kids. But it was a chance meeting in Cardiff that finally gave the aspiring thespian a foot in the door. Amy's boyfriend at the time had entered a talent competition called The Voice of Musical Theatre, and so she went along to show her support. In a twist of fate, a large number of the potential auditionees were indisposed, so when the panel saw Aimie sitting in the green room, they asked her if she'd like to sing for them. However, it was only a professional competition, so you need to perform professionally, and she's only ever done amateur work, so she couldn't legitimately enter the show, and they told her that after a few weeks. However, they were so impressed with her that they produced an amateur version of the show that she could enter. She won it, and as a prize for winning it, she went into the professional version of the show. Needless to say, Aimie went on to win the professional version of The Voice of Musical Theatre that year too, and this spurred her on. After short spells at both Artshead and the Royal Academy of Music, Aimie was able to employ a professional agent, but it wasn't the kickstart to her career that she had hoped for. But then, out of the blue, Aimie got a call from the up-and-coming theatre producer Paul Taylor Mills, who's the artistic director now of the Turbine Theatre, the old Battersea Power Station, or where it's situated in the same vicinity. Paul Taylor Mills was producing Lin-Manuel Miranda's In the Heights at King's Cross Theatre, and knowing Amy's potential, he wanted to cast her in the leading role of Daniela. Aimie saw out the final run of the show at the King's Cross Theatre and thought it was finally going to be the start of a successful career in musical theatre. I thought after In the Heights people might start seeing me and then I'd get some auditions, but it just didn't happen, and it was just as hard as before and I couldn't get in. It was a nightmare. Just shows how tough this industry is, isn't it, if you want to become a professional. And that's without COVID. I then got a call from this show called Six. They needed people who had gig experience that were good with audiences, because Six is obviously a concert version. It's a concert musical, isn't it? They told me it was about the wives of Henry VIII, and I was obsessed with the Tudors when I was at school, so I thought, although it sounded a bit weird, I'd give it a go. Following a 2-week rehearsal period, Aimie and the other queens performed just 8 shows at the Arts Theatre in London. Reviews were positive, but they were yet to create any sort of stir within the West End community or with a wider theatre-going audience. However, that all changed when the studio album was released. Aimie says, everything went crazy. We performed in Norwich and Cambridge, and then when we went to Edinburgh at the festival, at the Fringe, the fans went crazy and it sold out every night. That was the beginning of an exciting and hectic time in Amy's career. The show became an overnight success with sold-out houses. You never know what's coming up, do you? Both on tour and when it returned to the West End at the Arts Theatre, it became the hottest ticket in town, with the studio album having to date having had over 2 million streams worldwide. It hit at the right time with its strong female cast and the message of empowerment really connecting with audiences. After 2 hugely successful years in the show, which culminated in an Olivier Award nomination, Aimie took a difficult decision to move on. She says, I was really scared to leave Six for so many reasons. I was scared I would never work again because it had never been easy. Obviously she'd been in it from the start. In another twist of fate, the renowned Broadway producer and choreographer Jerry Mitchell, who had brought shows like Kinky Boots, Legally Blonde and obviously Pretty Woman to the Broadway stage, he'd become a huge fan of Six, and in particular of Amy's portrayal of Catherine Howard. Aimie explained, I'd always looked up to Jerry Mitchell and always wanted to work with him. I knew Pretty Woman was coming to the West End, but I couldn't get an audition. But then all of a sudden they wanted to see me. I went to my audition the day after I left Six. I didn't think I'd get past the first round, to be honest. little did I know how excited Jerry Mitchell was about me being there, and I got to the job. And we'll put some pictures up from Pretty Woman as well. How exciting. Aimie was cast in the leading role as Vivian, the character Julie Roberts played in the 1990 film. The show opened at Piccadilly Theatre on the 13th of February 2020. Sounds really exciting, but who knew what was going to come the next month? Things yet again were destined not to go according to plan, however, and just a month later the theatres closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm hoping I'll be back in Pretty Woman for the next year or so, and I'm hoping that theatre comes back and that it comes back stronger than it was before. I want it to thrive. Don't we all? Amy's journey to becoming a successful West End leading lady has had many bumps and turns along the way, but she believes it's made her a stronger and more resilient performer because of it. When I asked what advice she had for aspiring performers during this difficult time, she told me, you have to bang down every single door. You need to find your own showcase, so whether that's doing concerts or smaller projects, you need to make yours work. When the industry wouldn't give me work, I created my own, and it eventually brought me back to this industry. Very interesting. There's some other bits of that interview that you can read if you get the digital version. It's only £7.50 for 6 months digital access, and it's £12 for a whole year's digital access. And once you've got any digital access for one day, you can download, if you're fast enough, every single version of Sardines we've ever printed. All the PDFs are up there on the website of every version, and April the 1st will be no different. So next week, Thursday, it's coming out with this interview in it, and I advise you to get it. I really do. So there we are. And we've also got Shane Ritchie going in there, Lucy Jones, the X Factor performer. So yeah, there's a lot of musical theatre in there, but Shane Ritchie's obviously drama based. He's done lots of musical theatre himself, like Grease, etc. But he's in Scaramouche Jones, which is coming up about the clown. Going to be very interesting talking to Shane, and we're talking to him early next week. So that's probably the last article we'll be putting together, and it's probably our cover story for the next one. So yeah, be really interesting. But it's going to be, we don't let up, even though they're online issues at the moment. It's the same issues. So if you can, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and please subscribe to the digital issue of Sardines. And with every digital issue, we will be doing we'll be putting something in place where you get it sent to you as well from June and July onwards. That'll be fantastic, won't it? I can't wait. Stay safe, stay well. We'll be back. We'll see you Wednesday. Bye for now.